People say that the US's far left is actually more central in their countries. People from these countries, what are your far left policies like? From Finnish Communist Party, sorry all typos, housing, maximum price on rents, having government-run buildings companies that would build cheaper apartment, more rights to people, to say locals building zones in the areas. Environment, no mining, putting companies' responsibility what they do, more green areas in city, and focusing on light traffic, no cars, putting more effort on protecting waters. Healthcare, lower cost, max prices for poorer people, as current gap is like 1,000 E per year. Totally free if it's mandatory, and an emergency visit to all, not just in your home area. Making sure all areas has working healthcare centers, not just bigger cities. Alcohol problems, to easier to people getting help, and lower accessibility to get it. Making sure people can get help before it's going to destroy their life. Women rights, making sure women in typical woman-led industries would get raises, nurse, teachers, etc. Free stuff for poors and students at making sure in poor families women's will have better access child cares. Social care, more money, make sure problems are taken care sooner, and not when it's already a problem. More help older and younger PPL. Making sure those will stay as government runs, and not sell them to private markets. Education, keep it free and better access to everyone to take part homeschooling, etc. Making sure there are enough teachers, and having raised to them. General points, keeping all transparent, no backdoor deal, everything should be in public information. Public transport, no selling them on private companies. My own comments, not that far left, what it's already on Finland, but last 20-year government has been selling everything that makes money, what is most stupid thing what they can do. Getting few euros extra on this year budget, but making huge losses in longer run. In the Netherlands people often claim that our right-center-right depends on who you ask where you place them on the left-right scale. Party would be considered left-wing in the US, but I honestly don't see how. They'd be more close to libertarian than either Republican or Democrat. Here a lot of people conflate progressive conservative axis with left-right axis, and they're right progressive, but we have parties on all four quadrants of this graph. But to answer your question, let's look at our Socialist Party, considered the most left-wing party by pretty much everyone. Disclaimer, I've gotten this info, except for what I put in brackets, directly from their site, so it might be biased in their FAVOR1. Tax big business MORE2. Use that money to invest in police, healthcare and TEACHERS3. Get rid of the own risk premium in healthcare. Basically we don't have free healthcare here, we have healthcare on a discount, you pay for the first part, and they want that to change to completely free healthcare for smaller classrooms, not building-wise, but amount of children-wise 5. Build a lot of houses, don't evict people who can't pay rent, and lower the cost of energy, gas, electricity, etc. 6. Add small court-ish places in every neighborhood and more officers, police, firefighters, etc. 7. Fight climate change, especially the use of plastic as a problem. 8. Make sure people who arrive here relatively recently get a stable job and housing. 9. Less European Union, more own country LAWS. 10. Bring referenda back. Being able to have a say in your company, rise the minimum wage. Work 30 a week max, special tax for millionaires. Stop being able to rise rental prices for the next 6 years. Build a ton more social apartments. No fees for education. Being able to vote if you lived here for 5 years. Make a law that says 50% of all politicians in the parliament needs to be female. Higher tax for companies and the rich, higher minimum wage $17, mandatory for employees to get a part of the company's profits, very strict rules for big, financial, companies, more money for people without jobs. Basically move more money from companies and the rich to people. Our centrist Progressive Party want to invest more in education and fight climate change, but not be as strict on companies. Right now everyone is required to have health insurance. The left parties want to go to a single payer, or whatever it's called, free system, and the centrist parties want to keep the current system, but make it a bit more affordable. I'm guessing there are Democrats that we would consider in the center, but also those who are left-wing here. I'd say Obama would be centrist, and Bernie is left-wing here. It's also a bit hard to define left and right when there are progressive left, conservative left and conservative right parties. Some are a mix of left and far right. The US is generally more conservative as a nation, including the Democrats. Of course, I have Republican friends who would call any policy the Democrats makes as something akin to turning us into Soviet Russia. Then I have Democrat friends who believe the Republicans are going to turn us into a right-wing utopia. Painting a country with a broad brush is never going to be useful, however. I'll give my native UK as an example. Left-wing are parties like the Liberal Democrats Party. They're all about social democracy and staying in the EU, although they've softened on the latter since Brexit, and they want to get away from first past the post. The Tories are a little bit centre-right, the Labour Party is a little bit centre-left. Now, if you want to get really far left, then you're talking about anarchism and stuff like that, the Citizen Smiths of this world. US Democrats are probably one of the most central parties I know of globally. In the UK, our two main parties are Labour and Conservative. Labour is further left than the US Democrats, but the Conservative Party is also further left than the US Republicans. The difference of the latter is driven primarily by stance on guns and religion. In terms of Labour, they have more of a communist theme, not saying they are communist, but they are very much a working man's party. There was actually a leader recently called Jeremy Corbyn who was about as far left as I've ever seen, but his reign was not good for that party. In Argentina, Bernie Sanders would be considered a neoliberal. Take in mind that our country has a total population of 46 million people, and an approximate of plus 20 million don't work and earn money due to state and social security. These leaves a country where only a small part of the population maintains the others, all in name of the welfare state and the fight against inequality. In Argentina, 6 of 10 kids are poor, and I mean extremely poor, not like the standards of poverty that Europe has. We have the higher taxes in the world, 70% approx. This is very true. In Canada, your Democrats are more right-wing than what is considered our right-wing party, Conservative Party. Here the left wing has some small parties, but considering the big ones that get actual debate time from right to left, Conservatives, Liberals, New Democratic Party, Bloc Québécois and Green Party. Note that the Bloc Québécois is basically a party to represent the French-speaking province of Quebec, so they have specific requests linked to think special identity, and the Greens sometimes took some weird positions as usual leftist. NDP is the most popular left party, like that doesn't get 200 votes. NDP, they mostly defend more social protection, less privatization and more control over the markets. Many examples: more environmental protection, put more control on polluting industries, protect more spaces, carbon tax, etc., abolishing for-profit long-term care, no tuition fees, and right now they want to wipe out 20k in student debt person, major investment in childcare. We have a big issue with access to spots, expand healthcare to include mental health, dental, eye and pharmacare to reduce medication costs, still less than the states right now, built affordable housing, $15 for the Fed min wage, more progressive taxes to tax the very rich more and the corporations, cell phone price cap. It's actually not true, and the far left is a global movement. It includes communists and anarchists, to simplify things a bit, and all the various mixes of those two groups and gray areas between them. So the far left in the USA and the far left in Germany or Brazil are essentially all the same. The only real significant difference is that media in the US like to call centrists far left to intentionally muddy and confuse things and make the real left seem like they don't exist at all. In Canada, your far-left parties would be the New Democratic Party, https://xfer.ndp.ca/2020/documents/2018-policy.pdf, NDP, and the Green Party, https://www.greenparty.ca/default/files/platform_2019_web_update_6.pdf. In their platforms, you'll find things such as universal basic income free or almost free, child daycare 100%, green energy 100% covered, medical, pharmacy, dental, etc., free university tuition for everyone at. Combined, these two parties received about 22.5% of the popular vote in the 2019 federal election. The Democratic Party in the US is on the right side of our conservative government in Germany. Merkel would be considered a left-wing nutcase when put in the political climate of the US. How do actual left-wing policies in Germany look like? The political left applauded Trump's troop withdrawal and opposes intervention abroad. Other than that, it's mostly about how much money is invested in education, healthcare, immigration and climate change. I'd say that 80% of people actually agree on the general direction, but not on how to get there. There is no fundamental divide when talking about stuff like gun control, healthcare, social services and climate change. The whole Bernie Sanders would be a centrist in Europe is egregiously untrue. He proposed forcing companies to give 20% of their equity to workers, dismembering immigration and customs enforcement, drastically shrinking open trade markets, and nationalizing multiple private industries. These things are so far left that even the most progressive Scandinavian country wouldn't fuck around with them. They're the same. Our Green Party is our far-left party, and they're trying to institute some really fucking dumb shit like making it a legal requirement for psychologists to immediately validate the perceived identity of a child expressing gender dysphoria rather than, doing actual therapy. Also, they're pretty big on reparations, even though it would entirely bankrupt our country. Tuition-free higher education. Universal health care. Mandatory compensation package. Mandatory maternity leave. Mandatory collective bargain. Tariffs on imported goods. Progressive taxation on income and wealth. Universal pension for the elderly. Same-sex marriage by federal law. Abortion by federal law. These things are supported by the two main parties, the center-left and the center-right. But I guess that the main difference with the US is that it seems that the left there is more focused on social issues than economic issues. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like they are more concerned about cultural appropriation, mansplaining, gender fluidity and racial issues than minimum wage, healthcare and progressive taxation. And as others have said, our left is the actual Communist Party.